Victoria and Abdul, through the lens of A Course in Miracles, ACIM, becomes a meditation on status, identity, specialness, innocence, projection, and the undoing of hierarchy through relationship. The movie begins inside rigid structure: empire, class, ceremony, roles. Everyone knows their assigned identity: queen, servant, courtier, foreigner, insider, outsider. The ego loves this architecture because separation requires categories. ACIM repeatedly points to this. The ego survives through comparison and differentiation. Who is above? Who is below? Who belongs? Who threatens the structure? Then Abdul enters the system almost accidentally, and something destabilizes. Not politically at first, perceptually. Queen Victoria begins to see him, not merely as function, not merely as servant, not merely as Indian subject. That shift matters deeply in ACIM. The miracle always begins with a change in perception. The court cannot tolerate this because the ego depends on agreed-upon perception. If one person stops playing the role system correctly, the entire hierarchy feels threatened. Notice how much outrage in the film comes not from actual harm, but from violated expectations. That is classic ego dynamics. The court continually frames the relationship through suspicion, manipulation, seduction, social impropriety, political danger. Why? Because the ego cannot understand joining without hidden motives. Pure affection confuses it. Simple joy confuses it. Gentleness without agenda confuses it. Victoria herself is fascinating from an ACIM perspective because she begins the film buried beneath identity. Queenhood has become a prison. Ceremony replaces aliveness. People speak to the crown rather than with the person. This mirrors the ego's entire structure: image over being. Abdul becomes a symbol of interruption, not because he is spiritually perfect. The movie wisely does not make him entirely saint-like, but because he temporarily reawakens wonder, spontaneity, curiosity, and direct human connection within a deadened system. In ACIM, healing often appears through ordinary relational moments rather than grand mystical events: a shared joke, a meal, a story, being truly listened to. The movie quietly suggests that beneath all constructed identities, both are lonely. And loneliness in ACIM is always tied to the belief in separation. Victoria is isolated by superiority. Abdul is marginalized by inferiority. Different costumes, same illusion. One sits above the hierarchy, one below it. Yet both become more alive as the hierarchy softens. That is important. Love undoes vertical perception. The ego's version of relationship is transactional. What role do you play in my self-concept? Spirit's version is recognition. We share the same essence beneath appearances. The hostility of the royal household also reflects projection psychology beautifully. They accuse Abdul of contamination while revealing their own fear, prejudice, insecurity, and attachment to control. Ancient teaches that what we condemn externally often mirrors what remains unhealed internally. The court fears losing identity, not merely protocol. Identity, because if a queen can genuinely love a servant as equal in worth, the entire egoic structure begins trembling. And the film does not romanticize this process. There is manipulation at times, attachment at times, dependency at times. That honesty matters. Otherwise, spirituality becomes sentimental performance. It is not asking us to deny human complexity. It asks us to look deeper than the personality layer, without pretending the personality layer does not exist. One of the strongest themes in the film is how quickly people defend social illusion, even when it produces suffering. The court members often appear more committed to preserving appearances than to actual kindness. That is the ego's religion: maintain form at all costs. Meanwhile, the moments that feel most alive in the movie are usually informal. Shared learning, humor, walking outdoors, conversation, music, stillness, moments where roles loosen. The film also touches a profound ACIM paradox. Special relationships can become holy relationships. At first, Victoria and Abdul's bond still contains elements of specialness: emotional dependence, exclusivity, personal significance. Yet through genuine care, the relationship begins softening the rigid boundaries both carried. The relationship becomes transformative because it interrupts isolation, not because it completes them. That distinction matters. The ending is deeply aligned with an ACIM insight. The world attempts to erase what threatens its structures. After Victoria dies, the household rapidly destroys evidence, letters, memories, symbols, almost like the ego trying to restore its controlled narrative. But something cannot fully be erased once it has been truly experienced. A moment of joining leaves a trace, even in dream symbols, and perhaps the deepest ACIM thread in the film is this. Every hierarchy hides a terror of sameness, not sameness of personality, sameness of divine worth. The ego hears equality as loss. If no one is above or below, who am I? Spirit hears equality as relief. No one must defend an identity anymore. By the end, the film feels less like a story about royalty and more like a quiet dismantling of perception itself. Not through doctrine, not through theology, through simple human recognition. One mind looking past costume toward another and remembering perhaps neither was what the world said they were.